One now, I'm going to send the last sign-in sheet around. The attendance has dwindled a little bit, but still pretty good. And so welcome to anybody who's come in online as well. And thank you for being with us the whole day for some of you. I hope this has been useful. I mentioned at the break to one person that we are going to do a little survey at the end, so you'll get that via email, and I do hope that everyone who's come will provide us some feedback. This is the first time we've done it in this format before, with doing it all in one afternoon. I've given these seminars every semester for the past 2, but kind of spread them out. And I noticed attendance was dwindling as we got to week 8. Nobody wanted to come anymore. So hopefully, kind of doing it all at once in one day gives you a chance to do it. So that's trying something new, and we appreciate your feedback because we're always trying to be responsive to that. But our last one now is how to check and fix your document. People are usually quite surprised when I work with them. I had one student once who did not put their page numbers in the right place, and within 10 seconds I fixed it, and they'd worked on it for 3 days. So if you kind of find yourself in that situation, I'd suggest you ask somebody for help, because we really, I've done a lot of this for a long time. You probably do one of them. So it's something that I can help you with, and we can help you in the grad school with the student workers as well. But there's a lot of things like that. If you're really getting stuck, there's some simple things here you can do, but then there's some other things that might be useful. So again, today's schedule, our last one is Formatting 103, and my goal is to have that completed with time for questions at 4:45. But then as well, I'm going to stick around till all your questions are answered. So if there's something you hadn't answered throughout the day or you want to ask at some point, don't feel shy about it. I will be here till you all leave. I'm not going to go without making you get the answer to your question. All seminars are being taped and will be available online. We're going to talk about how to find information and help in the seminar as well, just in case there's some new people that have come in. We're going to talk about Adobe Acrobat, kind of where to find it and why you want to use that instead of something else. We'll talk about embedding fonts. This is one of the things students often complain to me that it took them forever and a day to do. And I'll show you that it's really as simple as one setting change in Word. And it really doesn't have to be a complicated thing at all. It should be very easy. I'll show you how to use the grid when you check your margins, and that's something that even if you're using LaTeX, you should be doing. LaTeX in particular will put things exactly where you tell it to, but if they're too big for the page, it won't do anything about it. And so we have a number of errors with LaTeX documents with margins that need to get sent back. Editing documents in Acrobat, there's a lot more that you can do in Acrobat than you think. And there's a lot of things you can do for quick fixes. And we'll also talk about redaction tools. So if you were at the copyright seminar just before this, we talked in that one about how you'd want to redact or obscure signatures in your Adobe Acrobat document, or in your document to get rid of signatures, and we'll show you how to do that. So again, if you need any help at any time regarding any part of your graduate degree, please email gradschool@mtu.edu. That email will get to me, it will get to Nancy, it will get to our student workers who can assist you as well. So you'll get an answer to your question there. There's no need when you email that email address to copy any other staff member or to try and guess who might be the right person. So that will get it to somebody who can help you or someone who can direct you to the right place. If you're looking for things that are important on the website with our new menu structure, our policies and procedures area is where you'll find kind of the most commonly asked questions for students. Usually students are asking, how do I find forms and deadlines? What do I need to do to complete my degrees under your degree completion timelines? And because you're here for theses and dissertations or reports, those individual pages will show you all of the resources we have to help you with those. The resources for page, there's one for current students, and on that one, I've got a little screenshot of it here. In the center of that professional area, the one that I've boxed in red that's called Graduate School Seminars, that is where you'll find the slides for today's seminar right now. So if you're watching online or you're here with an electronic device, you can find the slides right now online. And you'll find all the videos that we have for the previous seminars we've done, as well as these, as soon as we can make them available. The guide is extremely helpful. It will tell you all the rules that we have for documents. It also is a model document, so it can help you kind of see what it should look like. We do have templates for Word and LaTeX, and if you didn't see our earlier talk about using the template, I would really encourage you to take a look at that. Particularly if you're using Word, using the template is really going to help you. LaTeX, there are templates available for that as well as Overleaf, which is a new online service that the library has signed up for. The theses and dissertations area of our website has a lot of information about copyright and links to other tools. So again, I think that students will find all the materials they need, and hopefully knowing where it is will help you to find that more easily. Now today, we're going to talk about kind of one way to accomplish things using Word and Acrobat. And there are often many ways, and there's lots of different softwares. But in order to sort of be a deep expert in one, I've chosen not to be a shallow expert in many. So I will focus on Adobe Acrobat and Word, but you may have a different way that you prefer, and feel free to do that, and I won't contradict you, but this is what we're going to focus on today. So Adobe Acrobat. So I'm going to back up a little step to talk about what is PDF. PDF has kind of become associated with, Adobe so synonymously, but it's really not an Adobe thing. PDF is a portable document format. It was developed by Adobe in 1993, but it is now an ISO standard. And what that means is that anybody who has the ISO standard can develop their own software to make PDF files or read PDF files. So there's nothing proprietary about the PDF standard to Adobe Acrobat anymore. And what it does is it allows people to exchange documents independent of where they were created. So if I create something in a really obscure piece of software and somebody else doesn't have it, they can still open up the file and they can look at what I want them to see. So anybody then can open the files and read them, and this is great for future compatibility for people maybe years later. Maybe Microsoft Word won't exist, or maybe LaTeX won't exist, or maybe OpenOffice, or whatever you use to create your document. Maybe it won't be here, or maybe there'll be a different file format. I mean, Microsoft Word just not too long ago, switched from the doc format to the docx format. So even software companies that exist might change how they format things. So theoretically then, someone could open this file 100 years from now, open up the standard, make a new PDF reader, even if Adobe no longer exists. It also allows you to combine kind of multiple file types into one document, which is also very helpful especially for a dissertation where you might have lots of different pieces from different sources. Now we do recommend Adobe Acrobat DC Pro or Adobe Acrobat Pro. If you're on a university-owned computer, a site license is available. So if you're in some sort of a lab situation where it's a university-owned computer and it doesn't have that, you can contact IT and making sure the software is compatible with the computer, they should be able to install it for you. Academic pricing for it at Best Buy, I just checked today, was $119. Not the cheapest thing in the universe, not the most expensive thing in the universe. If you're thinking you're going to use it for a little while, that might be something you want to purchase, particularly if you're traveling or you've got your own laptop and you really have everything set and you don't want to move anywhere else. It might be something to think about. You can download a trial copy as well, and that will work for 7 days for free. You have multiple emails and you can kind of fudge the registration process. Maybe you can do it once for this version and once for that version. It used to be 30 days, which made it really attractive, and I would recommend it, but 7, you're going to have to kind of game the system in order to use it, maybe for your whole dissertation process. If you are off campus, IT can help you set up remote desktop so you can access university software. If you're paying tuition, you're entitled to have access to university resources. So ask IT if you're not available on campus, how you can get access to the materials you need. Now there are lots of other options. I mean, I'm not naive to think that other people aren't using lots of other things to do their documents. You can just search and find tons of options. Mac users, and I have a Mac laptop that I use, has a built-in PDF maker and viewer called Preview. Works pretty well for a lot of things. Word will let you save as a PDF. Problem with that is that usually the fonts aren't embedded. Digital Commons and ProQuest will also let you offer PDF creation when you submit. So you can submit a different type of file format and they will automatically make a PDF for you. Why am I not recommending these things? Well, it may or may not embed all your fonts, which is one of our requirements. That requirement will make sure that when you upload your document to ProQuest that it's accepted. So we want to make sure it's accepted on the first try. The converter provided by Digital Commons in particular will not embed all your fonts. It just doesn't. It's not set up to do that. It may only convert one file. So if your dissertation or thesis or report is comprised of 6 or 7 different file types or 6 or 7 different Word files, it's not going to combine them all together for you. So you're still going to need to use something else. If you're using something else like this, it may or may not maintain the quality of your graphics, because you're kind of just spitting it into a black box and you don't know what the conversion options are for that particular piece of software. And it may or may not convert your document correctly. And what I would say with any piece of software, whenever you convert it into PDF, make sure you check your document. Even if it's just a quick scan through it, please check your document. And I'm going to give you an example of why that's so important and really very easy. So this is an example of a student's work. This is part of page 1 of 2 other table of contents. And I'm kind of just blacked out some of it so you can't like figure out whose it is from the words. But what's important to notice is that you can see it looks nicely formatted. There's the nice leader of periods to the page numbers. The page numbers are all lined up nice on the right-hand side. The lining, the spacing is very nice. Looks perfectly fine. The student took their Word document and then uploaded it to Digital Commons. Their 2-page table of contents became a 9-page table of contents, and this was the first page of it. This was page 3 of the PDF file. There really is no reason why you shouldn't find this before you submit it. And there's no ability for me to accept this. Actually, I could. If everything else was fine, I could accept this. It looks like garbage, but none of the rules are that every text line has to be correct. If it's not one of the rules, I can't say it doesn't work. If everything's in the margins, I can say it's good. You don't want that to be your document. This looks horrible. And I'm sure that student, when they saw it a week later, would have been like, why didn't I look at this? Why did I not take the 10 seconds to look through this? So this should have been obvious. And I think that this one, I think the page numbers are in the wrong place. So I think we rejected it because of that. It wasn't because of this. No rule that has to be right. You had a page number. Looked good to me. So please check your document. It's really important. So embedding fonts is one of the things we want you to do. And why should you embed them? Well, embedding them includes them in your PDF file. And that means that anyone who looks at your document will see your document as it was intended to be viewed, even if they don't have the fonts that you used. Your file size is increased a small amount by every font that's included. That used to be, back in the days of modems, a little bit bigger of a consideration, but nowadays it's not usually such a big deal with high-speed internet with most academics. And ProQuest will require that most fonts be embedded. Now, they do have some exceptions. However, it's much easier for me to tell you embed all fonts than embed all fonts except for these 6. And the 6 are weird. It's like Times, but not Times italics. So I can't really give you like a simple one-size-fits-all boxy answer. It's just easier to say all. Now, what I will say that if you're having trouble with this and you are able to submit your document to ProQuest successfully, they will not let you upload your document if the fonts they want are not embedded. If you can upload it to ProQuest and some fonts are missing, it's okay. We'll accept it at that point. And we do see that problem with LaTeX users in particular. Sometimes they'll create their figures using a PostScript type of thing, and so they'll insert them as PostScript files. Their PostScript files for their figures will not have the fonts embedded, and for some reason it'll flag us in our system and we'll tell you your fonts aren't embedded, but when they upload to ProQuest they will often be okay. But I can't guarantee it. I don't know. Like, there's kind of some weird rules there. So we would recommend that all fonts be embedded. It's going to be easier for final conversions. It's going to let people see your document the way they intended to be seen, and it will make sure that everything is much more compatible in the future. So how do I do that in Word using Acrobat? On the Acrobat tab, there is a little buttons on the left called Create PDF and Preferences. if you think about, just going to check my notes to see what order I'm going in. What you want to do is set your preferences. So your preferences are just right there. And on that preferences window, there's a conversion settings that I've circled in red. The standard one is standard. And that one by default does not embed all the fonts. The preset conversion setting, however, called high quality print or press quality will. So if you just go to that drop-down menu and select high quality print or press quality, you will embed your font. So that really is, it's like a 2-second toggle and you're done. You don't have to worry about any more of the font issues. Using the Acrobat tool will also allow you to do some nice things with your bookmarks and other features in the program. If you use the Save As or the Print To, sometimes you don't get all the nice fancy features that accompany a nice PDF file. So if we go to Word, I have a little bit of a sample document here. I'm going to go to my Acrobat tab. I'm going to go Preferences. I'm going to click here, High Quality Print. I'm going to go OK. I'm going to create my PDF. I'm going to put this on one of my desktop. Well, apparently I have multiple ones on my desktop. It's from the last seminar, probably. I'll go replace it. So it's going to do its little churning, convert to PDF. And of course, sometimes things like that happens because it's computers and I'm doing a demonstration. And there we go. Happened the second time. So how we can check is we go to File Properties. There's a Fonts tab. And that has embedded subset next to each one of these fonts. What that means is that the characters in my document that were used have now been embedded into my document. So if I didn't use the letter Q anywhere, it won't embed Q. And that saves you just a little bit of file space. Not a huge deal, but it's kind of handy. So that's really how simple it is. If I had done that document using standard, it would not have embedded some of the fonts. So when you think about the PDF preferences, a lot of people kind of think, oh, PDF just means PDF. And PDFs are not one size fits all. There's lots of different options that you can use to create them. And you can think about, when you send something to the printer, you can do double-sided, you can do draft mode, you can do multiple pages on one page, you can staple it, you can hole punch it. So when you think about the PDF preferences, that's basically what you're setting, is all those different little things on there. And there's a lot more options. So you can, make your file size bigger or smaller by changing the size of your graphics, by embedding or not embedding your fonts, by including bookmarks or not including bookmarks. So there's a lot of different things that you can do. And so that's how you'd create the PDF then. And you can check them. Those slides are mainly there if you're looking at the slides later on their own. The other thing then is using the grid to check your margins. That is the margins, having errors in that margin space is still the #1 reason we reject documents. It's the most common reason to have someone's document rejected and submitted for a revision. So if you spend a little bit of time doing this, you can also certainly make your life a lot easier and complete your degree more quickly. So you need to go to the Acrobat Preferences and select Units and Guides. And the most important thing then is these layout grid things here. You want 1 inch between your lines because our margins are 1 inch and 1.5 inches. So 1.5 on your binding edge and 1 inch all around. So this will give you nice lines that meet our requirements. The other thing that you need to change is your subdivisions to 4, because that will get you lines at every 1/4 inch. So that'll allow you to find 1.5 inches very easily. I've had a number of students go, aren't there easier ways of doing this? I haven't found one. If you find one, you'll be my new best friend for the rest of my life, because once you see how we check the margins, you'll realize that. So you'll want to set the preferences. So why don't we just do that step right now for our document. So we'll go to preferences here. It's at the very bottom. It's called units and guides. 1 inch is fine. Subdivisions are always set to 4. 3 for some reason is a default, so I'll change that to 4. So now I've set the preferences. Then I need to turn on the grid, and I can find that from the View menu, Show, Hide, Rulers, Grids. On the Mac, it's the Command U. On the PC, it's Control U. So if we go back to my document, I go View, Show, Hide, Rulers and Grids, Grid. So that now gives me a grid. I've got these main markings are 1 inch. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, plus 2 is a half. So that gives me my 8.5. So I've got lines now at every 1/4 inch of my document. You can also view a ruler. You show, hide the ruler. That's also Control R. So I usually just do Control R and Control U because I do this all day. So I'm always turning the grid on and off. But now I can see how this is 0, and here we've got 8.5 inches. So sometimes the ruler helps you if you're trying to figure out where the lines are. I know where they all are because I've done this so much, but that can help people. So margins then for a portrait page are 1.5 inches on the left, or the binding edge, and then 1 on each side. Now this is for a portrait page in a single-sided document. If you were here for my earlier talk on formatting, if you love to format and want to make your life more difficult, you can do double-sided formatting. Otherwise, do single-sided. Much, 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 much easier. Binding edges on the left, non-binding edges your top, right, and bottom. And so the white area is what you can use for all of your text. Nothing can be in that green space, including your page numbers. For a landscape page, the 1.5 inches is on the top, because if you were thinking about a book, you'd need to rotate those pages 90 degrees counterclockwise in order to go into a book. So that's where the nomenclature comes from. Again, if you like formatting and really want to make your life difficult, put landscape pages throughout your whole document. If you want to finish your degree and not worry about formatting, just use portrait pages. Just saying, it's just the way it is. I had no landscape pages in my dissertation. I refused to do that. It was hard. And it was harder back, I had to learn how to type on a manual typewriter, so anyway. But your binding edge is on the top. Your other margins are, the non-binding edge would be the left, right, and bottom if you're looking at it in landscape orientation. Your page number would be rotated like that 74 is on the picture. That's what it should look like appropriately with a landscape page. And then you would rotate it counterclockwise to the left 90 degrees. So how we check your margins? We rotate all of your pages so that they're all in portrait orientation with the binding edge on the left. Otherwise, we'd have to rotate our heads for every landscape page. And for your double-sided pages, the margins alternate. So on a double-sided document for portrait pages, the binding edge is on the left for odd pages and on the right for even pages. And we'd have to go like a tennis court back and forth. So we actually look at your pages upside down on every other page for a double-sided document. So if you're doing a single-sided document, you should rotate all your landscape pages 90 degrees counterclockwise to put them in portrait orientation. If you're doing a double-sided document, you would rotate all your landscape pages the same way, but then you would also rotate all your even pages 180 degrees. And that will make everything line up the same way, so it makes your margins much more easy to check. So quite literally, how we check your document, I like the little hand tool. I put my little hand tool on 1.5 inches, and I do this. For every page of every document that gets submitted. Oh no, there's an error. Now I have to send this back to the student, and it's on page 6. You can find that. You can find that error. Take 10 minutes and do this. It will save you a lot of time. When I do your binding edge, non-binding edge margins, usually there's less problems with the top and the bottom. So then I just look at this top line. I know where that nice broad line is, and I do this. Okay, a little quicker then. Do the same thing for your page numbers. Look at the bottom, and I go up, and I go, oh, that one's in the wrong space. This student is not graduating. And I go over here on the right, and I do this for every page. Thankfully, I have students who help me with this now, but for about the first 8 years, I did this for every single document that ever got submitted. I think my students thought I was insane when I showed them how to do it. But there's a problem there with an error, with a figure. And you should be able to find things like this. This is not a joke. I mean, this is what we see sometimes coming in. These are not exaggerations. It's often very obvious and very wide. There needs to be an inch here, and there's only a little bit. So this poor student has now, let's say I'm the student and I've actually checked my document and I'm going, oh my God, I've just found this out. I've got 15 minutes. I'm not going back to Word because the first time I made my PDF, Acrobat crashed. Who knows if that's going to happen again because it's due at 4 o'clock. And the grad school's really mean and they're going to make me cut it off. So what do I do in 15 minutes? You can actually fix this document quite easily in Acrobat. And the ability to edit depends on what you're editing. Sometimes editing text can be weird. If your fonts are not embedded, it'll give you a little error message and go, your font's not embedded. If you're using a LaTeX document, sometimes the way it's constructed, it just won't let you edit it because it maybe sometimes even looks like a picture. Sometimes it makes the pages into pictures based on how this person has created a document. Sometimes if you're trying to edit like text in a paragraph, it won't word wrap the way you want it to. So it won't be quite as sophisticated as Word. It's gotten much, much, much better though. When I used to teach this 10 years ago, I would tell students don't do any of this. And now I'm like, try it. 90% of the time it'll work. So you should try some of this stuff. And typically you can resize and move things. Now everything, however, is manual. When you go back to your Word document, if your advisor is going to make you make more changes to it, you're going to have to redo them all if you didn't fix them. So you have to kind of balance, like sometimes it's easier to just do the manual fix than to figure out in Word how to make it work. And sometimes it's not. So you're going to have to decide for yourself where you want to spend your time. Because some of these things you'll see are quite easy to do, and you might just be happy to do them. So depending on what version of Adobe Acrobat you're using, DC Pro is now the one on campus, but Edit PDF is what you want to do. So let's take a look at this guy's, or look at my thesis, right? It's mine. I won't blame it on anybody else but me. And go edit and see what we can do with this one. So the first problem that I found was this figure here. And let me just make this page look like this. If I click on this figure, I can actually resize it in Acrobat. So I can actually do this and make it smaller. So I've now fixed that particular error on this document. Let's go back to the first page and see what we see. Well, this looks good here. And this is where you'll see that, see, this is all like one block of text. And I don't really know why because they're all different lines. But one of the other problems with this document is that there's a page number on your title page. And there's not supposed to be. But maybe I don't know how to use section breaks in Word. And I remember the graduate school seminar and they said section breaks are complicated and don't delete any of them. And now I've messed up and I did. And I don't know how to fix it. This is something where I can just do this, page number gone. I just deleted it. So I've had students in my office who are like, I don't know how to use Word, it's not working. And I just go delete here and they're like, oh, that was really easy. So this is an example of if you don't know how to use section breaks and figure out, and every time you try it makes it worse, just delete them here, it's fine. Same thing with the second page. Now notice here on this page how it's got all these things as different blocks. So this is what I mean by sometimes the word wrapping won't quite work because sometimes the text kind of gets converted in a different way. But here we have this 2, and I can just highlight that and delete that with a simple keystroke. So now I've fixed that error in this document. So now pages 1 and 2 are good, and that other figure was good. This page here, this page number 3, that's in the margin space because this 1 inch needs to have nothing in it. Remember 1 inch, that green bottom 1 inch was where I couldn't have anything. So this page number is in the wrong place, but I can move it up with my arrow keys and make it in the right place. And now it looks perfect. List of figures, I can do that again for this one. And if I count the numbers, I could just count like 10 and then do 10 on each one. So then they're in exactly the same place and then no one even knows. We can do that. Now this one here is a little bit more complicated, but we see that we want this text at 1 inch. So I can move this over, and that's okay. And really, I don't really want that at 1 inch. That should be indented a little bit. Well, I'll just fake it. 1/4 inch looks good. But now this is at 1 inch on this side. I can't just move this one over. But what I can do is resize this text box to be 1.5. And that actually did nicely repaginate that for me. And because I have a lot of empty space on that page, I'm okay. I don't need to worry about anything else for this one. So sometimes it'll work really great and you can do this. And so if this is, 445 or 345 and your dissertation's due at 4 and the first time you made your PDF Acrobat crashed and you don't want to do that again, this might be the way in 5 minutes or less to kind of quickly do it. And if it's a really simple fix, it might just be the easiest. Again, your abstract here, I can just click that over to 1.5 inches. It's redone it, that's good. This table is in the margin space. It's not a lot, but it is. We can see this what Word does is it puts a little bit of spacing around your text so that the borders around your table don't print over your text. But I can just select that whole thing and move it over. So I can fix that one. And that page looks good. This looks good. Good. Here's where I fixed that one already. Maybe I want to, shift some of this stuff up a little bit. Maybe I don't like how that's a big gap there, so I'll just move it like that. I can do kind of anything I want there and play around a little bit. And that's how I can fix. So I can resize figures. I can resize text boxes a little bit. I can even make typographical changes. So if you find a typing error on your title page, I don't think I put one in this. But maybe I forgot a word, Oh, see, now there I go. I hit return and it did that. So now this is an example where something didn't quite work right. But let's say this wasn't supposed to be title, it was supposed to be another word. So I can actually type over words as well. So if you find like a typo in your title, this is good for that as well. Okay. So lots of things you can do to do that. The other tool is called the redaction tool. And this is something you can use to obscure text. So the easiest way that I've found is to just search for it. So if I go here, I'm going to take out the grid because I don't need the grid anymore. I'm going to search for redact. And this is the main menu here. I can right click on this and I can add it as a shortcut. What that does now is it's now added it to this list of tools. So if you find a tool that you are missing from this list, you can do that. If you click on the redaction tool, you will then get all of these lovely extra tools here that are redaction tools. So in this document, if you were here in the last one where I talked about copyright, this, for example, is our copyright documentation. And so this is just an example. And this is part of the dissertation template. So if you were to download that template, you would kind of see what this looks like from a student perspective. But this last one I've just kind of made up is a letter from somebody that's signed by Sarah Bird, who's a university photographer. Obviously, it's not her signature because that would break the rules of putting signatures online, so I just faked it. But we want to mark this for redaction. What we can do is say text and images. It'll give me a little notice here that says what I'm doing. And it'll say first you need to mark for redaction, then you need to apply. I can click this don't show again if I don't want to be bothered by it again. I usually don't, just in a public space here. And now I've got a little cursor, and so because this is text, it'll just let me highlight the whole thing. If this was something not text-based, it gets a little crosshairs, and I can use that to, select an area like that. And if I then apply for redactions, it'll say you're about to permanently remove everything. Are you sure you want to do this? I'll go okay. Redactions have been successfully applied. It'll ask me if I want to find and remove hidden information. So in your document, every document has what's called metadata that's kind of stored in some little file in the computer that tells it like who created it and who made it and stuff. And so this file, if you want to look for that hidden information, you can also look for that. I usually don't need to, but you can do that. And I'll just go no here right now. But now I see now that instead of Sarah Bird's signature, I have a nice block over it. Now what I usually do with signatures so that somebody knows I just didn't make it up is I'll draw the box so that it kind of, you can see the top and the bottom of the signature. So you can't see the signature and copy it, but you'll see that, yep, there is a signature there. It's just that person didn't want that in the PDF file. So again, the slides here are showing what we just did. You want to search for that redaction tool. When you click on it, you'll get all these tools. You'll first want to mark for redaction. You'll select the things that you want to hide, and then you'll select apply when you're complete. It'll ask you if you want to look for other hidden data that might be in your metadata. So the take-home messages for this, and if you look at the handout I gave you, has a kind of a two-pager. The back of it has a couple of take-home messages for each of the seminars. PDF files are not one size fits all. There's lots of different things you can do with them. This is kind of just scratching the surface, but it's a lot of fun to kind of play around with documents and have the ability to do some interesting things. Acrobat has a lot of tools that you can use to edit and check your PDF, and if you take the time to do this yourself, you will save yourself a significant amount of time at the end. Margin checking in particular, again, if you learn nothing else but how to use the grids and the rulers, that is the #1 problem we have with documents. And if you can reduce those numbers of margin problems, you're going to have a much better chance of being successful the first time and completing your degree sooner. And again, all the presentations, slides, and other resources are available online. And so are there any questions from our on-campus or online participants? And online participants, feel free to use the chat box to type